Ai, Bojo, Ani, Nikani Ogawanim Kibinishi Kinoshido Dam Ganabajing Donjaba, Makanagana, Menakoshwen, Menagishikat, Nongon, Nadishnakas. Hmm. I just want to say, have a beautiful day. And a lot of the issues that are things that I bring up on my Facebook are meant for me. I deliver messages that come through the airwaves. They fly through. Sometimes they just come. It's not meant for anybody in particular, but they say, as the old expression says, if the shoe fits, you can wear it. Um, I personally don't celebrate Christmas or Easter or because I don't have conventional holidays that celebrate Jesus or God, or only because it's just not me. I've never really been fancy on that kind of stuff. Maybe Christmas was for kids, but I just personally never found any solace in believing in a man that his own people crucified him and killed him, and he was white supremacist, it felt like, because he had blonde hair and blue eyes, and I think he was pretty dark. He was a Jew and came from Jerusalem. All those people that I've met from there, are pretty dark people. So, was Jesus really a dark man? Hmm. And maybe he was indigenous to his own territory. And just to know that his own people killed him and betrayed him in the end really says a lot about their own genocide and what the Jews went through. They didn't have it any easier than First Nations people had it. Genocide actually happened in every culture, in every race, and I mean even amongst the white supremacists. I think in Irish to the Catholics and Protestant and Catholics, like it was always a holy war of some sort, and that's part of the Easter holidays is about how it was desecrated, and I think that's why I write about the things I do, and I generate ideas and generate awarenesses and bring open cans of worms that other people would just love to kind of throw under the couch and forget about that it's there, almost like nuclear waste, and putting it in different areas that will really affect our watershed. And because we think, if people think automatically, if it's out of sight, out of mind, for one. But if you bury it there, then you won't have to worry about it. Some places in the States, they actually built cities on nuclear waste dump sites, and we find that in this world that people are meant in different places to understand so much, and spirituality and star beings, and it's real. Like, the struggle is real, and I don't pretend. And I spend a lot of time by myself. I've been alone now for 8 years, and I've been out of a relationship for 8 years, and I've been very much on my own. And I not that I value that, more so as I value the fact that I love doing what I do. And if people knew half of what I do, they wouldn't give me such a hard time. And, they would honor and respect that in me. Because it's really cool. It's a really cool existence. It's a really cool life, and how things are brought to me, and how I bring them back to the people, because really it's not about me, it's about we, and all the songs and the ceremonies and everything that's been given onto my path, uh, for me to move forward, is really, it's important what we do now. And a lot of people that run ceremonies, that have pipes, that have drums, actually have suffered in some way, and and it's really hard when you have to do things by yourself. And that's nonsense, because I think we've come from very strong roots and very strong families. I remember my grandparents on my mom's side. I always heard really good stories of my grandparents and how they helped so many people. And, and they were kind of mean to their own, but they helped so many others. And so we learned that behavior. We learned that behavior from residential school, where we had to serve. They had to serve the Lord. They had to put everything above that. And I remember even in this community where my grandmother Viola had all those kids, and the priest came and took her last $5. Like, who does that? You know what I mean? So we kind of got away from being there for one another and doing things for each other, and people get paranoid when somebody like me comes home in the community and starts doing things for people without expecting things. So I'm kind of ruffling people's feathers because I'm trying to get them moving too. Like, what are we doing for one another? What are we doing for each other? It's not just about me. Like, it's our kids are watching us, our grandkids, and to be able to pick up these things, like just simple things like the young men going to get moose and distributing out throughout the community, the upcoming women's gathering in Thunder Mountain, and having the support from my community, because it's so important to have that. The upcoming fasting and sun dancing and rain dancing, all the things that we put forth that to help others. That's so important. And usually anybody that helps in that kind of way or in extreme probably suffered to some extent. They suffered, and they know what it's like to have nothing. They know what it's like to do without. And I think that supporting family is number one, right? Whether, we think that if something happens over, I live in one part of the reserve and something happens in the other part of the reserve, that, oh, it's not my business, that don't affect me. I think it does. I think if something happened in our community or in any community, suicides, rape, somebody ODing on opiates, all those things affect us. They might not affect us directly, but indirectly we're affected by that energy, but the energy that created it, and the energy that's still there, and then the energy that heals from it. Because now we're in a place of healing, and that's our survival. And we can't create it, we can't heal it in the same energy that created it. So we're very, very confused in a lot of ways, and the only way that we're all going to overcome or to go through it is together. And whether anybody likes me or not, it's really not important to me, because I'm not here to be liked. I have a message, and this message comes from the old ones, and all of the work that I've done up until this point, up into this place, doesn't come from myself. It comes from another, from the old ones to the people. And all those things that I've done, sat on the land year after year, and I think that something is been given through those experiences, through that discipline, through that way of praying and the way of being. And the chief called me a grandmother. So I guess it's partly when you walk in the truth. Doesn't matter what culture, what color, what we believe in. as long as we walk in that truth, in that light. Because I don't think it doesn't matter which way we express it. It's just that why I brought this Jesus thing up is because that wasn't our way. That way was enforced upon the First Nations people that are indigenous to North America. That was brought to us and it was enforced upon us. It was, we were displaced because of it and because of the religion of it, the Catholicism and the Anglican, and that wasn't our way. We had our own way of worldview and our own religion. So that's all I was meaning by that. So I don't celebrate Easter or Christmas. My grandmother did. My grandmother was a very strong Catholic, and so was my stepdad. And, I respect them for that because, my grandmother was she had a very strong faith and a belief. But she also had the Ojibwe way, and my grandmother was pure white. So it's kind of interesting how that all played out. And because, like, my mom's mom was white, but raised by Native people and spoke the tongue fluently, knew about medicines. She was a midwife. But my grandmother worked hard all her life. Like, she had 7 children with my grandfather, Frederick Agwa, and he was pure Native. He was almost black. He looked really dark. And so my grandmother, and she had 7 children out of that marriage. And it's kind of interesting how we all have that part of us in our ancestry. And that's so important about lineage and knowing where we come from, because that's where we're going to go back to, right? And so my grandmother always walks with me throughout my life, even after her death. She's always been around me and in my dreams, and she walks with me, and I'm grateful for that. And I've always believed in her ways and who she was as a woman, because she was such a phenomenal lady that she gave so much to people all the time, and she always had such childlike faith. And I think that I resemble her a lot in her character and who she was. And she was cool. She was she was unique in her own self, and she spoke to me fluently, and I can understand things that are being said to me, even though I make it look like I don't understand a word a person's saying. But that's just something I was taught. It was ingrained in them. It was ingrained in our people not to know that we knew something or know that we understood something. We always had to play dumb in a so to speak way. So I guess we're just good at it, right? And she was very gifted like that. My grandmother had many gifts. She had magic in her own way, and she was very keen. And she never got to know her true roots and where she came from, and she always wanted to know, and she was very, very strict on those protocols. Like, they were just old school. Like, if you have kids, if you get pregnant, you better take care of your own kids. And they were very, very strict. And I think a lot of that came from the religion and the Catholic and what it was done to the kids. Because that, even though intergenerational trauma we suffer with now, it still affects us. It's still told to this day. So if I do or I don't, it still affects, causes and effects, right? How do you handle pedophilism in our First Nations? Well, a lot of people do get angry and they still hold those resentments. How are those things handled? And we want to say that on Easter, we want to be able to identify that, yeah, those things happen, those things still happen. in our First Nations. And now we have to own it, like the shawl that I wear, the ceremonial shawl that I wear. And I think that's why I was experimented. Like when I said a comment earlier that I had tried cocaine when I was younger, and I did, just to experience it and just to be able to see what the hype was all about. Do you think I'm going to try opiates or jib? I don't even want to go there. I think that partly with that high and being scared because it was too high and it was too much of a beautiful high that a lot of people don't come back from that because of what's ingrained in our brain and what we went through as children from abuses. And that's why I think a lot of people get stuck and they don't know how to come back. That's a hard place to come back to. So that affects me as the addict. But if that addict has children, that addict has a husband or a wife, that addict has brothers and sisters, that addict has children, that addict has grandparents, that addict has cousins and friends, that addict has beautiful people in their lives. So it just doesn't affect the addict. It affects everyone around it. So it affects the whole community. But we tend to blame the addict so we don't have to take a look at the abuse issues, the sexual abuse. It's like a warm, soft hug. How many people have explained it. And I'm just very grateful that I was able to come back from all of that because there was a lot that happened. And I'm not ashamed to say those things but yeah, that's what happened. And the genocide. And people are ashamed of that. And I wear it like a shawl. And so if you meet a person that's spiritual, chances are that person has been through hell. That's the person you want to go to. The person that's doing the sun dances, that is sun dancing or rain dancing or has a pipe, you'll know in your heart who to trust and who not to trust. Because chances are that person really suffered. And a person that really suffered won't bullshit you. A person that really went through all of that and was able to overcome it and go through it, they won't lie to you. They'll tell you like it is. And because I think we want someone to tell us like it is. Because I'd rather be told hurt and be told the truth than to be lied to and find out later. So, I mean, I think that's why I'm alone is because it's hard to find that total honesty in any relationship because I deserve to have healthy relationships in my life and relationships that don't lie, that don't cheat, that don't steal, that don't abuse. That's part of walking the walk. And that's part of picking up those tools that were left by the trail from me and my family. And even my family, it's like people have become so immune to things and loving things and using people that they forget the reality of the seven grandfather teachings and how important that truly is to who we are as Anishinaabe people. Because they hurt a lot of people to get where they are. They use a lot of people. They mislead people. They misguide people. And usually, when it's never too late to change, but I think it's just being able to be totally honest and being truthful. Not a lot of people know how to do that when intergenerational trauma and nobody wants to deal with it. They rather sweep it under the carpet. So I'm kind of the person that opens up the can of worms or hold up a mirror to them. And that's scary to a lot of people that don't want change or don't know how to change. More times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 nowadays, It's just that people don't want it. They don't want to change. They'd like to stay the same, because if that means they have to change, and that person beside them has to change, and that person besides them have to change. So we all have to change, and it's more than just not putting gas in our car on April 15th. It's way more than that. We need to get our whistles out. We need to get our drums out. We need to get our pipes out. We need to light these fires. It's way more than just not putting gas in a vehicle for one day and boycotting that company. I think we are in very different times, and we're in very trying times right now. And we need to reach out to the grandmothers, because those are the wise ones. Those are the ones that have been through hell and understand what that is. They're the ones that had to keep quiet in many extremes. They're the ones that held their head down when everybody else just failed them. They are the matriarch. And if we're gonna actually get something done and want to rectify it, the grandmothers are the ones to go to. The grandfathers will tell you that. The real grandfathers will tell you, go see your grandmother. If she approves it, then it's a go. That's always been our way. Don't ever forget that. We are here because of our grandmother's prayers. We are here because they loved us enough to be that strong, to hold it all together. You know, what I would give just to have that time with my grandmother on a day like today. What would she tell me? What would she tell me about myself and the choices that I've made in my life? Gotta love grandmas. Have a good day, everybody. Bama pimanwa, anagijikat nung komanda. Chimikwachkijgan. No komisak. I hope.